Hey everybody, Kevin Elliott here at Home Dabbler. Today I want to teach you how to do one of the most common home plumbing repairs. Now, have you ever opened up your, say, kitchen sink, your bathroom sink to get the bleach or the Windex or your garbage bags or whatever, and oh no, there's a puddle underneath the drain of your sink. So you call a plumber and about $300 later, your leak is fixed. Not anymore. At Home Dabbler, we're all about empowerment and learning and doing it ourselves. And you can learn how to do this. Now, I know what you're saying to me already. You're saying, but Kevin, plumbing is scary. I know, plumbing can be scary, but I'm going to walk you through it. I'm going to show you all the parts you need and give you all the tips. And if you really have trouble, message me through the Facebook page and I'll walk you through it. So, here is what you need to know about this plumbing repair. The first one is that you don't need really many specialized tools. That's why this is a very good introductory home plumbing repair for you to do. You don't, really the most important tool you need, you already have, which is your hands. The wonderful thing about modern plumbing is they've made all the parts very home friendly. You can do this yourself without knowing how to do a lot of specialized plumbing stuff. So, the first tool you really need, and the only one other than your hands, is a pipe wrench. They call this a pipe wrench. Now, the thing about a pipe wrench is it's super versatile. You can use it for about a million things. This one is a cheap one. I mean, don't go crazy on this thing. You can probably get one of these for 10, 15 bucks. It's adjustable, and really what you need this for this repair, is to loosen the existing nuts in there. You'll see some of these big plastic nuts like this. And if they've been sitting under your sink for a long time, and they probably have, you're going to need this to just break them loose a little bit and get them loose. After that, you really don't need this because most of the nuts that you're going to install in this are hand tighten only. So you need your pipe wrench. The next thing you need is some plumber's putty. Again, super cheap. I'll explain how to use this stuff. It's actually kind of fun to use this one. So plumber's putty, you can get this at any store that sells plumbing parts at all. The next things you'll need are really two kits. They sell plumbing parts like this in kits, in boxes or bags, and then all the pieces you need will come together. So all you need to know is the name of the two kits. The first one you'll need is a drain kit, a sink drain kit. So if you walk into your home improvement store and say, hey, I need a sink drain kit, you can get some help. They will hand you one. The other thing you need is a P-trap kit. It's made up of a few parts. A wall bend. This is a J-trap for obvious reasons. So the wall bend and the J-trap together make a P-trap. So just walk in and say, I need a P-trap kit, and they'll hand you that as well. Here's one thing you need to know though, one distinction about home plumbing underneath your sinks. You really have two kinds. So in your bathroom, the size of your drain lines in your bathroom are 1 1/2 inches, okay? 1 1/2 inches outside diameter. Call it OD. Just walk in and say, I need a 1 1/2 inch P-trap for my bathrooms, for my kitchen sink, 1 1/2 inches. That's kitchens only. In your lavatory, so your bathrooms, under those sinks is 1 1/4 inches. 1 1/4. So all the parts are exactly the same. It's just the size of the drain is a little bit different. 1 1/2 inch for kitchens, 1 1/4 for your bathrooms or your lavatories, which is the repair that I'm going to do today, is actually in one of my bathrooms. So here's what I want to do. I'll walk you through the parts and show you how they fit together. I want to do it out here because, you know, once I get crammed under a sink in there, it's really hard for me to talk and show you where everything goes. So I'm going to show you how they assemble out here on the board, and then when you go in there, you can visualize kind of how the pieces work. So here is the order you want to install these pieces. You want to install them tailpiece, or the drain. We call this a tailpiece. The drain first. The wall bend second. And the J-trap last. Okay? So sink drain, wall bend, J-trap. I'll show you how this works. So this drain right here. This is the most complicated piece of the whole system. It comes in a few parts. You'll notice there's your, everybody knows this. This is the pop-up. So if you do the pop-up lever, Okay? Take that out and set it aside for now. This is going to be the last thing you actually deal with. So take it out, set it aside. The next thing is, you'll notice when you look at your drain right here, that this top piece screws off. See that? Okay, good. So the top piece screws off. This is the part that ends up in the bottom of your sink that you see. This slides underneath your sink. And in between there is your sink. So what you have to do so that water doesn't leak underneath in your drain right here is you need to use some sort of sealant to go under there and make sure it doesn't leak. That sealant is called plumber's putty. Now, let me show you plumber's putty. It's like Play-Doh for adults. Not that there's anything wrong with adults playing with Play-Doh. But plumber's putty is basically like Play-Doh. It's waterproof. It's soft. So what you'll do is you'll just dig a little bit out with your fingers and make a little snake out of it, just like you used to do with your Play-Doh. See? You start working it out like that. Okay, once you have a little worm made there, you take the top of your drain, the part that goes in the sink, you flip it over, and you simply put the plumber's putty on there. It doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be nice and neat. A lot of this is going to squirt out anyway when you screw it all down. So, see that? Now you've made a watertight seal. So when you slide this into your sink, and then this other piece comes underneath, and you screw them together, right? That will make a nice, tight seal. After you get that settled, underneath here, you'll also see this nut right here in the middle, right? And there's a big black rubber gasket right there. What you do is, once you get it all assembled, you simply screw this all the way up as tight as you can with your hands. Squeeze, 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 really tight. This brings me to a point about plumbing in general around your house. The number one mistake people make with plumbing is they over-tighten the fittings. You don't over-tighten the fittings. Usually, when you have a rubber gasket like this, or plumber's putty, or any sort of soft gasket between parts in plumbing, you don't have to tighten them too much. You tighten them hand tighten, and then maybe take a pipe wrench and tighten them 1/2 turn more, just enough to get it solid. Now, people think because it's water and I'm afraid of leaks, I have to just squeeze and squeeze and squeeze. That actually does the opposite. You'll squeeze that gasket so hard, it will flatten out and water can seep through it. So that's the wonderful thing about a drain, is because there's not a lot of pressure. The water's just wanting to flow through. So you can just hand tighten really good and solid. You're usually going to be fine. Now, I'm going to leave the pop-up till last, but that's your drain. The next part is your P-trap. Now, there's a few things I want to call out about this P-trap. First thing is the wall bend. You'll notice it's long because this is the part that goes into the wall and out into the rest of your house. You see this little bevel at the end right here? This little shape? That's actually going to be your best friend in just a little bit. So the way this works is you have these big hand-tightened nuts. You see these little wings on them right there? That's so you can do them with your hands. You don't have to squeeze really hard. So the first thing is you take this nut, you slide it over the wall bend, okay, with the threads facing toward the end of the bend. And see how it just hangs right there? Okay, so just slide that on there. Very good. Once you get your tailpiece installed, slide this into the wall and just leave it there. Don't tighten the nut down, just leave it there for the time being. You need to be able to let it slide. Okay? The next thing is, on the bottom of your tailpiece, which is where your sink will be, you need to install the other nut that came with your P-trap. You install it thread side down. There's your thread. You install it thread side down, up like this. And then notice this little plastic ring right here. Okay? That little plastic ring is a gasket. That's going to also keep any leaks from happening. So what you do, notice it's kind of a bevel. It has that angle on it right there. You want to bevel that down to match your wall bend. And then you install the J-bend. You slide it up like this. Now watch this. That gasket should slide right down into the top of the J-bend. See how it fits nice and snug? Okay, now you let the nut slide down and you hand tighten. Tighten it down. And what you're doing there, when you hand tighten this, that gasket is actually being pushed, packed down into the gaps around the J-bend. Give it a good hard squeeze like that. And do the same thing. Then when you have this like this, now your wall bend can slide in and out to match where the J-bend is. You tighten that down, and now you have a P-trap. Okay? So that's how you install the P-trap. Once you get that settled and everything's nice and straight the way you want it, hand tighten all of the nuts. Go ahead and crank them down. Again, not too hard. Now, the last piece you have to do, once you get the drain in there and get all the P-trap set up and tightened down, is you need to install the pop-up lever. Now, this can get a little tricky. People, you'll freak out a little bit about trying to aim all of this stuff and get it right. But this will be down the back of your sink. There's a little hole behind behind where the knobs are. This slides down in there. And by the way, if the one you have in your sink now is okay, like it's not a problem, leave it there. You don't have to replace it all if it's not bad. But this will be down there in the back of your sink somewhere. Okay. What you're trying to do is connect this with this so that when you push this up and down, the pop-up goes up and down so you can either fill your sink or drain it. Now, they've come up with a lot of interesting, really catchy ways to do this. Back in the day, you had to use these metal strips that had holes in them and clamps and all this weird stuff. But they tried to get a little bit more homeowner friendly, a little do-it-yourself friendly. So here's how this one works, and I kind of like it. What you do is you'll have this little ball lever right there, okay? And inside that nut, you'll see also another little gasket, just like you saw on the J-bend and the wall bend, okay? So be careful, don't lose that gasket because that will cause problems. Okay, so slide this over the ball joint, slide the ball joint into the tailpiece. And again, you're going to be doing all this under the sink, and I know that's hard, and you're going to be on your back. It's a weird thing, but there's really no good way to deal with that, which is why I'm showing you this out here. So, okay, you tighten that down. Don't over-tighten this, especially because it needs to be able to move. Okay? Now, the instructions show that you line this up just right, and then you take your stopper. There's a little catch right here that matches the shape of this lever. Now this gets a little tricky, but play with it and you'll get it. Slide this down, okay? Slide it down and turn it. Now watch. Look, there it is. See, it's connected. It's locked. It's good. Then what you do is slide this on. Slide this part on the end of that, and then hook this to your lever, to the pull up and down. It has a little rubber gasket on there that tightens it down, and now you got it, okay? This will take a little practice, but you can do it. So that is the basics of one of the most common home plumbing repairs. You will face this one day, and you should not be afraid. If you have trouble, again, message me through the Home Dabbler Facebook page. You can do it. Thanks.